M. Night Shyamalan, I have a question for you. Why do you hate me? I haven't done anything to you. In fact, I've defended you in the past many times, even when bashing your movies was considered the popular thing to do. And why? Because I had a high regard for your work. Once upon a time I did, anyway. The Sixth Sense was one of the few movies in many, many years that genuinely scared me. And I thought many of your subsequent films were actually quite good. Hell, I even liked The Village. Yeah, even when people were bashing the hell out of The Village, I thought The Village was a fine film that got a lot of crap it didn't deserve. I was one of maybe two people in America that actually liked Lady in the Water. And no, I'm not going to come on here and defend The Happening. Who in their right mind would? But unfortunately, The Happening is what we're getting here. Okay, we're not getting the Sixth Sense guy. We're getting The Happening guy. That is the man that made this thing. Okay? And that is so unfortunate because I had hope. I had some small sliver of hope that Shyamalan might actually bring his A game for this one. But those hopes went unfounded. And I'd like to draw attention to one particular issue here before I break out the Wolverine claws on this turkey, because I think this issue, while not hugely important in the grand scheme of things, may end up getting lost somewhere in the cacophony of horse shit that is M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender. And yeah, I'm putting M. Night Shyamalan at the beginning of that because leave it to Shyamalan to take quite possibly the most brilliant, well-written, well-produced, well-executed cartoon series of the last decade, which is about as close to Miyazaki as you can get without actually being Miyazaki, take it out behind the woodshed, bludgeon it to death with a rock, and then ass rape its corpse. I don't want to sound like xenophobic or racist here at all, because believe me, that's not my intention, and if I come off that way, I apologize. But why are there so many Indians in this movie? I've seen every episode of the cartoon series multiple times, and I always thought the Fire Nation were Japanese. You know, Chinese, Asian, something like that. It was obviously an Asian culture, right? So why then are they all Indians in this movie? Because I would think if you're adapting someone else's property to a new medium, the least you can do is be respectful enough of the source material to get the ethnicities of the characters right. And yeah, I guess in this day and age, it shouldn't matter as much, and I guess it doesn't, but still, this bothered me because it's indicative of a much larger problem this movie has. Second of all, where the hell are Zuko's facial scars? I guess this was just an aesthetic choice, but again, this was something that really bothered me. Because, I mean, Zuko's facial scars, they're there, but they're not really there. I mean, because they're not nearly as bad as they should be. Because in the cartoon series, he was like Two-Face. I mean, literally, like a third of his face was gone. And you could see how he would be tormented about that, how he would have been traumatized by that experience. And here, the scars really aren't that bad at all. I mean, they actually look like they've mostly healed up. I mean, you really have to look close to even notice them. I mean, you could see why he would be upset in the cartoon, because they were pretty bad. But in here, I'm like, dude, why are you so upset? It's not that bad. You look fine. You really have to look closely to even notice them. And yeah, maybe it's not an earth-shattering issue, but that was an important character trait, an important characteristic he had, because the scars symbolized his scarred psyche, or whatever. And again, it bothered me more than it should have, I guess, because it's indicative of the much larger problem, that problem being that M. Night Shyamalan clearly had absolutely no respect for the source material he was adapting. And I saw an interview that he did a couple years ago with the creators of the cartoon series, saying how he was so excited to get this job, how he loved the mythology of the cartoon, he loved the characters, and he was going to bust his ass to make the best movie possible and be like so respectful of everything. And it was all a lie. He did a complete hack job. I don't know how he could have done any worse on this thing. And I mean, everything from the writing, the acting, the direction is just so subpar. I mean, he is better than this. He is so much. I mean, he has done much better than this, and I don't understand how he could have dropped the ball on this thing as badly as he did. And I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start with a script. at one time, Shyamalan seemed like a very promising screenwriter, but at some point, it's like he just forgot how to write. I mean, I don't know what happened, but he just completely forgot how to write a coherent narrative with interesting dialogue, interesting characters, you know, words that pop, you know? None of it is there. I mean, basically what he's doing is he's taken the first season of the cartoon and trying to condense it into about 90 minutes. And yeah, that works about as well as you'd think it does, because that's like what, 26 hours of television or something? Oh, well, not 26, but I can't count. Fuck. 13 hours, whatever. And trying to condense it into that small a space, so obviously things are going to get lost in the translation. And I mean a lot of things are going to get lost in the translation. Okay? Like Suki. Where the hell is Suki? She's not there. Nowhere to be found. And maybe she wasn't absolutely vital to the story, but I think you could have easily included her if you had a screenwriter that actually knew what the hell he was doing. Also, Sozin's Comet, barely even mentioned. I mean, they throw out a tiny little mention of it at the end, and that is a hugely important detail. And there's also a lot of really important information, just very pertinent stuff that gets completely glossed over. Either it's, you know, just told to us via voiceover, or it's just thrown into conversations haphazardly and then forgotten about. And all this is very important stuff, like the library where the general finds, you know, the information about the moon spirit fish, or, you know, the whole explanation for how Yue became the moon spirit and everything. It's just, it's given to us, but it's not given to us in a way that makes it seem important. I mean, it becomes important only when it has to be. Otherwise, it just doesn't seem that way. And it's like that for the entire movie, basically. And it's just a horrible way to dole out all this information. Did you ever hear a show don't tell? Jesus, Shyamalan, you used to know what that was about. Also, the direction, the action. Shyamalan should never direct another action movie ever again, because it's like he watched a couple Zack Snyder movies, took some half-assed notes, and then tried to copy Zack Snyder's style, because literally like 95% of the action in this movie is in slow motion. And Zack Snyder at least knows how to do that so that it looks cool. And it's effective. Yeah, I mean, it gets excessive at times, but he knows how to do it properly. Shyamalan doesn't. I mean, this whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, dude, speed up. Go faster than this. Everything is too slow. Even when it's going at normal speed, it's too slow. Like the bending. The bending is just doesn't look effective at all. In the comic books, the bending looks much more I mean, not the comic, the cartoon. In the cartoon, the bending is much more fast-paced. You could see how people with bending powers would be huge badasses, like, to contend with. But here, they have to go through all these complex martial arts moves before they can even do anything. And yeah, that's the way it is in the cartoon, but it's sped up in the cartoon. Here, they're like, they have to do all that before they can even, like, bend anything. And it's like, okay, why doesn't their opponent just walk up to them and punch them in the face while they're doing this? Because they could easily do that before they could even throw a fireball at you. If someone ever invents a gun in this world, the benders are kind of obsolete, because they're like, and then you just rub out your gun and you're like, so the benders just look completely ineffective, and just because of the way the action was staged. And I just, oh man, I can't believe I'm gonna run out of time. The acting, I mean, the acting is terrible for the most part, mostly because the characters have just been stripped down to their bare essentials. I mean, not even their bare essentials. They're like cardboard cutouts of what they are in the game, the cartoon. I mean, they only have, like, stripped down to the most basic character traits imaginable. Like, for example, like Aang, he's the Avatar and he's an Airbender. Those are the only personality traits he has. Zuko, Firebender, lost his honor. Katara, Waterbender. Sokka, got no bending, comic relief. Those are the only character traits anyone has. Nothing is explored beyond that. Everything is glossed over. I mean, which is a shame, because complex character development is one of the best parts of the cartoon. But they don't go into that at all. Everything is just so underwritten. They were obviously playing for kids, which I don't understand, because yes, while the cartoon was marketed to kids, It was actually much more intelligent and adult and mature at times, and people of all ages can enjoy the cartoon. This thing was made strictly for kids, which pretty much kills your adult demographic. Don't watch this movie. There's so much more I could say, but I'm going to run out of time. Don't give them your money. Don't give them the satisfaction. I don't want to see 2 more movies of this that completely ass rape the source material. Oh, don't see this movie. God damn it. Fuck this movie. Fuck M. Night Shyamalan. Fuck him. Yeah, fuck you, Shyamalan.